Greetings and welcome to ITR Live. We are back here in Studio 130 in the Central Iowa Regional Headquarters of Iowans for Tax Relief and our overall family of wonderful organizations. Welcome back to Iowa's premier conservative podcast. I'm back here in studio with John Hendrickson and Chris Ingstead, and welcome today, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to be here today, Chris. This is going to be a good show.
It is. It's going to be a great show. We've got, again, John, go ahead.
I just want to add that this is not just the premier conservative podcast. This is the gold standard.
The gold, yeah, thank you. See,
and the flagship.
You know, when we started this podcast, we really didn't have any idea what we were doing. And frankly, I'm not even sure we still do. But
now this finely polished product.
The idea was, let's just get started and we'll figure it out as we go through it. And we finally, here live on air, stumbled across the tagline, the gold standard in Iowa conservative podcast.
That's right.
I love it.
And we take the responsibility of maintaining the gold standard seriously, so much so that the last words we said before we record today were, whatever, let's go.
Yes.
And we were all okay with that strategy.
Yeah, whatever, let's go. All right. Well, we do have a lot to cover today, gentlemen, so we're going to get right to it. But we're actually going to start with one of our semi-regular features that we have here on the podcast, which is what's John watching on KCCI? So I guess to kick it off, this is one that John and I actually both saw last night on the KCCI News. But the title of the story is Woodward Granger Students Left Out of Pizza Party Reward. John, you saw this.
Yes.
You thought it was. So the gist of it is they offer a pizza party to one of these classes as an incentive for a big test they have to take.
Yeah.
Some of the students.
I think it was Iowa Basic Skills.
Yeah.
Test. Yeah.
So some of the students did well and got the pizza party, and some of the students didn't meet whatever the threshold was, and they didn't get the pizza party.
When you say they didn't meet the threshold, you mean they didn't earn it?
They didn't earn it.
Okay.
So,
I didn't see the story on KCCI.
John, tell me your perspective on this. Is this, I mean, there's two questions. One is the whole idea, I'm sorry, I just got to get started. The whole idea of a merit-based reward, you know, and maybe we can go into participation trophies and whatnot. But the whole idea of whether or not this really rises to the level of, you know, Central Iowa's most watched local news show. Yeah. So anyway, you go talk for a while.
Well, it reminded me of actually went back in my grade school days, because I remember, and I can't remember if it was the third or fourth grade, but we had incentives that was similar, except my teacher would, if you did okay on your spelling test, there was maybe a popcorn party or a ice cream sundae party. And I have to confess that there were sometimes I did not get invited to that because I didn't do well on my spelling test. Right. And so I think right now we see, and it's not fun for anybody to be left out, but you create a situation in this sense where here the school had a program to basically encourage kids to study and prepare for this test, and as a reward, get to go to Pizza Ranch for a pizza party. And it would not be fun not being able to do that, but I think it's the reaction of it. One, I don't think this was a news story, and also the reaction of the school was basically to end this program next year, based on, you know, that's not treating everyone equally. But
yes, that's because not everyone performed equally. That's how the world works. But
this creates a problem, is that when you start doing this, it's just like everyone gets a trophy for playing, and that's not really how the world works, and so it's creating a lot of disincentives for kids. And like I said, it's not fun. It wasn't fun watching my classmates get an ice cream sundae, but it also gave me incentive to maybe try a little bit harder on my spelling test.
That's right. I can understand that sitting through these tests all day is difficult, and that maybe there is some reward for everyone for doing it. But to just eliminate the idea of incentives for better performance just seems a little counterproductive.
Un-American.
I mean, look, we live in a merit-based society. I guess we probably could go a little too far with what this means, but it's the whole idea of equity and everyone comes out the same in the end, no matter how hard you try or whatever. Like maybe it's the stupid little cartoon of the kids trying to look over the outfield fence to watch the baseball game, and equity is lifting the other one. Whatever. Maybe I'm making more into this than it should be, but yeah, you know what? Incentivizing anyone, specifically children, to get them to try harder at something like that in and of itself is actually a very good thing. Not necessarily a bad thing.
Right.
Okay, good. All right.
I mean, example number one is how many gnomes did they hand out after the trivia contest?
Just one gnome.
And why did you get it?
Well, my team won it for exceptional performance,
your team,
for
right.
winning the contest.
Okay, there you go.
I'm not quite sure why I got to bring it here to be the 2023 ITR Live podcast mascot, but here we are, and we're going to lean into it.
Yeah,
I'm going to enter that trivia next year because I want to.
Yeah,
I want to know him. Patriotic
we'll have to talk to the ringleader of that. See if we can't pull that off. That'd be fun. I also was, by the way, I was the runner-up champion at the Texas Roadhouse little trivia screen contest recently. Yeah, my kids turned it on, and so I paid whatever the fee was, and so I jumped in and got second place. I was really proud of that one too.
If you get second place in that crowd, that is really safe.
I think so. And there's some good stuff. You know what the winning question was in that was which Beatle was the rumored to have died, early on, and before Abbey Road.
Paul is
I got
dead.
that right away. I knew before they even put the answers. So it's just Paul. Yeah. Anyway. Okay, good. Okay, John, what else is on KCCI? And I'm gonna tell you. So I wasn't expecting to answer that right away.
This is twice now. You faked handing it over to John just for you to go more.
I like to get him like right there on the edge of answering and then pull it back away from him.
There's a couple of stories that were on there. One we didn't talk about. I don't know if you want me to bring it up.
Oh boy, you came loaded. All right.
So and I just want to there's pressure on the governor to veto the portion of the budget that in a sense reduces funding for the area AEAs, area education.
Now, when you say pressure, you mean Senator Janet Peterson telling her to veto it, right?
Yes. Well, the media then spins it by saying that. And again, this is the tired argument that's used over and over again: is that this is underfunding AEAs, and that what's going to happen is special education services are going to suffer. And I believe the governor has basically said, no, this is not going to happen, and I think she's going to hold strong to that. So I think that's great, not going into the pressure. We see this all the time from the special interests within education of using the argument of being underfunded. Well, constantly.
I would say it's a little bit of the difference between what's happening in Iowa with conservative budgeting that you spent a lot of time working on writing about, John, and in Washington, D.C. There's never been a federal program that's ended or any amount of money spent on something. But yet here in Iowa, we hold the line on the budget.
Yes. Yeah.
And if we don't think something's delivering the return or isn't necessary, we end that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what taxpayers expect.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Third and final KCCI story is they had a piece on the new arena for the Des Moines Buccaneers, the USHL hockey team in Des Moines. Actually, they're based in Urbandale is their current facility, and it's an old facility that's taken some storm damage and whatever. So they have a proposal and got an award to move to the old Yonkers space at Merle Mall. Now, they got the award a year ago, which was $26.5 million in tax incentives. I might be not getting this quite right. And yet they had the ceremonial groundbreaking 1 year ago today, and nothing has happened yet. The Yonkers sign is still on the side of the building, and the sign that says future home of the Des Moines Buccaneers. And so the question is asked by the story, well, what's happening here? So the answer given by the developers is that, well, we still want to move forward, but project costs because of inflation and maybe whatever, it's just more expensive now. And so the incentive package that we got doesn't cover what we had anticipated this costing. And so it's sort of on hold. We can just bang on the tax incentives generically of whether that's a good idea for this project. I don't like the incentives either, although I do like the idea of trying to revitalize Merle Hay Mall because they've done a lot of good things so far. But set all that aside, Chris, I wanted to get your take on this because you've spent a lot of time working on TIF, local government incentives for projects, things coming in over budget. I mean, what else can we learn from what's going on here?
What did you think was going to happen? I mean, that's what we can learn, right?
Yeah.
And again, I'm not interested in debating the merit of this particular project. Frankly, it's a cool idea. The Bucs, need a new arena. I think it's fair
absolutely.
to say it would be good to have something big going into the Merle Hay Mall side of it. So I'm not interested in waiting on the overall merits of this particular project. But we've offered them some stream of future tax incentives, and whether that's good or bad, I don't know. But what we're doing, and this is the part that we need to realize, is we are simply training developers to come to government to fund their projects and then to come back for more and more and more. And frankly, we're not only training private developers, but we're training local governments to go to their citizens and ask for more, right? And when there's these cost overruns, it's either give us more or we're just going to spend more anyway because we've got the authority to do so. And there's very little accountability. And we've just got this system going where developers have been trained not to have to fund the project themselves, just to look to the taxpayer. And it's got to stop, right? Yep. I mean, if it truly makes sense for some development or redevelopment to happen, then it needs to be able to stand on its own 2 feet, not to get a big lift from the taxpayer. Now, I'll say one silver lining in this, Chris, is I think this particular project was sort of a rebate or they had a portion of future tax incentives. As opposed to, I don't believe or don't know that there was a substantial cash outlay out front. But we see that happen too, right? We lay out the money, we restrict it, whatever, and then the project doesn't happen. So taxpayer dollars are already tied up, and there's nothing going in return.
Yeah, it seems all too often.
Chris, if your kids, let me go. You've been a parent longer than me.
Yes.
If your kid throws a fit and asks for something, and you give it to them, what do you think your kid's going to do when they want some more?
Well, clearly it's indicative of some of my failures as a parent because they keep asking for more. But yes, that's right. I mean, they're conditioned, and why wouldn't the developers come to local government and ask for this?
Yes, they should.
And it's the same thing with some of the other tax credits that exist out there that are handouts, across the board. There is
zero blame on anybody for utilizing what is made available to them. That's not my beef.
When taxpayer incentives simply become part of how can we make the bottom line look better and not creating a broader environment for success, I mean, that's a problem.
Right. Then maybe it's some things we need to say no to and say, boy, that's a nice thing, but it's too expensive. We can't afford it.
Yeah. And I think, too, it's becoming very common. And some of it's because of the economy and the environment in which we find ourselves. But these projects that are either funded, they're either local government, debt projects or funded by tax incentives that are coming in well over budget. It just seems like it's very, very common. And yet we keep trying to warn folks out there, it was the Urbandale Rec Center. It'll be a miracle if this comes in at this level. It seems overdone anyway, but don't tell me that the ongoing operating expenses are nominal when we all know it's going to be more than this.
Before that, it was the Warren County Justice Center or something.
That was substantial.
Remember, their elected officials said it's not a problem. They went over budget as long as property tax valuations kept increasing.
Yes,
but
exactly.
that is a way to govern. Way to go.
So, it's just, I think the takeaway is we need more realistic expectations. We need to have a very, very wary eye of all of these kinds of things. And just expect more. So anyway,
we need a reset, and we need to break the habits.
Well, when we're back next year, Iowans for Tax Relief at the Capitol, talking about TIF reform, talking about developer incentives. And I know that's not directly at issue on this one, but yeah, you know what? This stuff's actually real. And y'all need to pay attention to what's going on here. Okay. So we have got like a whole host of other issues, John, and I know you're excited about this next segment, but we're going to kind of do sort of a modified lightning round here. Okay. And this is just kind of how we're going to get through a whole bunch of issues that we've got left over right now. So we've got a feud right now. We're going to come back to presidential politics a little bit.
Oh,
you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Ron DeSantis versus Nikki Haley on the subject of Disney World. So Ron DeSantis, in the Reedy Creek district and sort of ended that and went after Walt Disney World. Nikki Haley and several others on the other side are saying that's not really conservatism by, sticking it to a local business. Where are you at on that? Which side of that do you come down on?
I'm not familiar with Haley's arguments, but I'd have to say
she wants to invite Mickey Mouse and Disney World to South Carolina.
Oh, well, I mean, I think what DeSantis did was good. I would say this is an example of talk about special incentives.
Yeah.
I mean, this was crony capitalism, what Florida did for Disney World, and if Disney wants to move, let them.
Good.
I mean that.
Yeah, I mean it's the number one probably economic driver in Florida, but
and
they're
also
not moving anywhere. Give me a break.
Disney brought this on themselves with their adherence to their woke agenda and their continuance to push these controversial
that's right
ideologies on families.
Yep. Okay. Next issue on presidential politics, John. Do you have if you have a take, you better come on up with it. That's kind of what do you got?
Oh, I just really don't care. I think the state of Florida is huge. Disney's huge. They're both going to be just fine no matter how this plays out. Who cares?
I agree. Okay. Next issue. President Trump says that if he is reelected in 2024, he is going to release all of the JFK files.
Never.
You believe in that?
No, I don't.
Chris?
That's like free pizza on Friday in a student council election. Don't believe it. Not really plausible.
The one thing, I don't care how atypical Donald Trump may have been as a president or maybe again or whatever. The one constant in the presidency is we are not going to let the American people know what's in the JFK files.
No.
Let's just take that to the bank. Okay. Next thing. So there was in the Hunter Biden IRS investigation, there was a whistleblower that said that this was ultimately a cover-up here, and shortly thereafter, the IRS investigation team was replaced altogether. Anything to see here?
I think there's a lot to see, and remember, the media as well as Democrats said this was a Russia hoax when it first broke, and we know how, with the Durham report, we know how reliable the media and the Democrats have been on this, and like I said, I think Representative Comer has exposed the long train of money flowing into the Bidens from China and other places that. This is corruption at its highest.
I think it's very similar to the FBI report we touched on last time. This is another instance of some of our largest federal institutions, failing us or abandoning their post.
Yep. Okay, last issue, which isn't even really a question, but were you all aware that, I saw this in a meme, so it's kind of, are you aware? President Biden finally, after, almost 4 years since becoming an announced candidate, has finally drawn more people to an event than Donald Trump has.
No,
I did not realize that.
At our southern border because the expiration of
There
China.
we go. There we go.
Yeah. All right. John, Chris, anything else?
Well, you brought that up, and
that's the political version of a dad joke, by the way.
There's a group of governors, including Governor Reynolds, that have joined together that are going to be responding to Governor Abbott's call for help as a result of this. And I think that's great of these governors trying to step up to try to protect the border where this administration has failed so miserably at it.
I'm also enjoying the mayor of New York starting to complain that they just can't take any more. His sanctuary city, New York City, can't take any more immigrants. I suspect that the folks in El Paso or Arizona are probably slightly less sympathetic to that complaint.
Yeah.
So, all right, Chris.
Nope.
Good, John.
Well, there's more, but I know we're at it.
I'm here for all of it.
Yeah. I mean, there's more on immigration I'd like to talk about.
Well,
but
I think we need to do just set aside a John Hendrickson immigration hour, or maybe even just a foreign policy hour broadly. Yeah. And we're just going to get you spun up and just let you go for an hour.
Can we bring in trade on that too?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It's just a freewheeling. It'll be fun. Yeah. So no, it's all good. All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, everyone out there. Don't forget to like and subscribe, give us a review, tell your friends. And with all of that, we will see you next time on ITR Live.